Along with individual experts, Surgeon Masters brings you life improvement strategies in 10 minutes. These proven principles and strategies are easy to learn and can be applied immediately, allowing you to practice your best. Here's your host, Jeff Smith.
On this episode of the Surgeon Masters mini podcast, I have with me Joe Kaczmarczyk. Joe, thanks for being here and being one of our resident experts on leadership.
Jeff, thank you for having me on this episode and talking about 3D change and sapient leadership.
Joe, since the COVID-19 pandemic, there's been an enormous amount or number of seemingly endless changes. Can you provide insight into this phenomenon of change?
Well, everyone's experience of the pandemic has been unique. There's one aspect that has been a shared experience amongst physicians and patients alike. No one has been immune to change. Absolutely no one has been immune to change. It was a change unlike any previously experienced change, which is why one of the most frequently used adjectives has been unprecedented change.
Can you elaborate on why the associated changes have been considered unprecedented?
In February 2020, I became the interim dean of PCUM Georgia and had the privilege to lead through the peak of the pandemic for 13 months. In my quest to identify resources to help me lead effectively in this new era, I read the October 29th, 2020 Harvard Business Review Adaptive Leadership article by Anil Chima and Ron Gutman, in which they described 3D change as a new normal for change marked by three dimensions. It's perpetual, occurring all the time in an ongoing way. It's pervasive, unfolding in multiple areas of life at once. It is exponential, accelerating at an increasingly rapid rate. Let me summarize by repeating: 3D change is perpetual, pervasive, and exponential.
So of those three dimensions, which one currently remains the most impactful?
Unequivocally, I would say exponential, because the rate of change has continued to accelerate not linearly, but exponentially. I think everyone in the listening audience would agree. However, there remains the existential question of why. I believe the why has much to do with the proliferation of artificial intelligence, or AI, specifically generative AI. The most salient example of which is a large language model such as ChatGPT. The difference between ChatGPT-3 and ChatGPT-4 illustrates why and how AI will continue to fuel and drive exponential change.
So, Joe, my understanding there's a lot of existing models of leadership that have existed. How do these models of leadership adapt to the 3D change?
Well, in short, they don't. Because as Chima and Gutman pointed out, our thinking evolved to be linear and local, not exponential and systematic.
So what do we do about this?
We need to adapt to a new form of leadership, sapient leadership. The name itself invokes humanism, vis-a-vis the Latin binomial Homo sapiens. Ron Gutman, in a March 16, 2023 online Exec Edge article, asserted that sapient leadership framework is built on the power of learning from and caring for others. So sapient leadership refers both to the quality of wisdom and to being human.
I love the power of learning from and caring for others. Since every leadership model has a framework, can you take us through the sapient leadership framework?
There are four pillars of sapient leadership. 1, leader humility, authenticity, and openness instills trust and psychological safety. 2, trust and psychological safety empower individuals and teams. 3, continuously learning teams enable effective navigation of 3D change. And 4, shared purpose and values enhance focus, cohesion, and resilience during 3D change.
So as I understand it, there's 4 pillars. and they seem pretty interrelated. Are they?
That's a very astute observation, Jeff, because they are interdependent, which is not surprising in light of the prior discussion of nonlinearity and systematic complexity.
So tell us some more.
Well, I would like to ask the listening audience to do a 3D change exercise.
That sounds like fun.
Think of a change, especially one that occurred during the pandemic. How would you characterize that change? Was it pervasive? Was it perpetual? Was it exponential? And why? What did you learn from that change? How did that experience of that change affect you? And how did it alter your thinking? Finally, what are you going to do differently in the future as a result of that change?
So that's fantastic, Joe. That's a great exercise. And just to help them do that exercise, all they have to do is hit a little bit of a rewind and listen to your instructions again. But you had me in my mind thinking about that, and that's pretty cool. I think that highlights the concept that you're talking about: pervasive, perpetual, and exponential.
Yes, and it reframes a past pandemic experience into a new light of understanding. So
give us a little bit of summary to just drive home the key messages of this sapient leadership and 3D change.
I especially like how Chima and Gutman contextualize 3D change with what I think is an implied emphasis on exponential change and the need for sapient leadership by saying the challenge of 3D change is that it amplifies the pressures on leaders, teams, and organizations to evolve and adapt faster or become irrelevant.
Thank you so much, Joe. Thanks for sharing that critical message with our listeners.
You're welcome, Jeff. As always, it's a great pleasure to be on an episode with you. Thank you.
There you have it in less than 10 minutes. This is Jeff Smith along with Joe Kaczmarczyk. Until the next episode of Life Improvement Strategies for the Surgeon Who Wants More. Ciao.
Now, take 10 minutes and put your plan into action to practice your best.